Video game analysts like to make predictions, and there have been a lot of news stories swirling about what the industry experts think is going to happen in 2024. New hardware, Xbox dominating. Let's get into it right now. Now, I like this idea so much that I actually reached out to Michael Pachter, who did an interview with me, and that interview is available to members right now, and it will be available on the channel a little bit later in the day. So be sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. But before we get to it, let's talk about what GamesIndustry.biz said. So I went through this piece and I highlighted the bits that I think might be most impactful to the viewers of this channel. A video game acquisition with a value of over 2.5 billion will be announced, a top 10 deal. That's pretty significant, especially with how economics are this year. It would be really, really interesting to see what if that ends up happening. Here's what the analyst ended up saying. There was a sharp decline in the total number and value of video game related mergers and acquisitions in 2023 as macroeconomic headwinds, strategy shifts, and weaker performance in new technology sectors impacted deal making. Nico Partners expects to see a recovery for video game related M&A in 2024. I forgot what the M stands for. Market and acquisitions. With at least one deal with a value of over 2.5 billion, this would qualify it as one of the top 10 largest video game related M&A deals of all time. We expect the buyer or target company to be based in Asia and MENA. Now, what's interesting about that is almost every single one of these analysts predict more acquisitions. Now, both Sony and Microsoft have talked about acquiring more companies, but there have also been a lot of foreign parties interested in making acquiring companies also. Oh my goodness. Can't talk right now. The next big story is about hardware. So the first prediction here is from Nico again. 2024 will be a year of new console hardware and announcements. 2023 was a strong year for console gaming as hardware supply returned to normal and multiple high-quality AAA titles launched following prior delays. Nico Partners expects 2024 to be hardware-oriented with a next-generation console announced by Nintendo. We also expect mid-generation consoles from PlayStation, as well as a new entrant in the dedicated PC gaming handheld segment. One of those have already come true. MSI is teasing that they're about to announce a new handheld, and that's just one of many that are being teased. I think Intel also had like a UFO thing that was being floated around. Not literally, like it's rumored to be that Intel is also going to get in on this. This year for the Switch, though, it would be the absolute perfect year for Nintendo to come out with the Switch. There's not a ton of competition in the market. I don't think a PlayStation 5 Pro would particularly steal their thunder. Nintendo's kind of doing their own thing, and you should do your own thing and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live, especially that interview I got coming out later on. Next up, Xbox will narrow PlayStation's lead in terms of console ownership. They were wrong about this one. Now remember, Xbox had difficulty selling consoles. Wrong. Sony significantly outsold Xbox this year, having proven more resilient in the current competitive landscape than previously expected. However, it is worth noting that Xbox's strategy going forward does not necessarily hinge on the number of consoles sold, but rather on the number of subscriptions. This is an analyst talking about how there is a shift, and I keep talking about it on the channel. I think a lot of you agree with my sentiment, but people think about this race incorrectly. They still think about it in terms of consoles, and I truly do not think that that is the whole picture. It's all about services, and that story is only going to become more and more compelling as more and more of these companies stop worrying about console sales, which will flatline at some point. Like I'm guessing around 150 million for the PlayStation 5 and I don't know, 70, 80 million for the Xbox. But Xbox doesn't really care where you play. And as internet speeds get better and better and prices remain okay, I think more people are just going to start playing games on their television. Like Netflix just released the Grand Theft Auto games right? Continuing on, game subscription growth to outpace game software growth by 3 times. Expect a strong year for game subscriptions with more growth than in 2023 and total subscriptions closing in on 200 million by the end of the year. Game software will also grow more than in 2023, but it will be significantly outpaced by subscriptions. Consequence, more power for the companies offering subscription services, a dynamic that is similar to music may emerge where, equivalent to Spotify, jostling with labels over right holder payouts, Microsoft and Sony will be jostling with game publishers. There will be one big difference. Microsoft and Sony also develop and publish their own games in-house, sell the hardware on the games that are played, and control much of the cloud infrastructure behind the scenes. This grants them significantly more relative negotiating power in this situation than Spotify has in music. There's another prediction later on where they say that they think that the subscription market is softening. And I agree with that because later on, you can see somebody mention that Satya Nadella no longer ties his CEO compensation to Game Pass growth. And there's a big reason for that. I think it's more of a holistic picture that they're going for, and he probably doesn't want to be targeting that. Now, in those leaked internal documents from the FTC, we know they had a ridiculous number in mind in terms of subscribers. But now that he's decoupled that, I think that's a smaller part of the strategy. I think it's just overall revenue generation for the company. Another analyst, Dr. Sirkand Toto, is saying a Switch 2 will come and be $400. The time is finally here for a Switch successor, even though I can say a Pro model actually did exist and certain developers were already working with the dev kit. I believe the next hardware will drop next year for $400. There is a high chance that games will cost more too, $70. I mean, that would just be Nintendo getting on the bandwagon of $70 games, right? The next system is also likely to be an iteration rather than a revolution. Nintendo might add some bells and whistles to the device, but it will be similar to the current Switch. And because there is Pokemon and Pokemon is associated with handheld gaming, there is no way on earth Nintendo will drop the portability feature for their next big thing. I think that's totally fine. They have a lot of competition on the market, like Valve released the Steam Deck last year, so maybe it's good that they waited so that the Steam Deck hype can die down just a little bit. But now you have MSI entering the market, and you have that other one that everybody talks about all the time. It's definitely something that has picked up more speed than even I expected, and that will likely continue. Here's another prediction for an MMA. I believe this is Pierce Harding Rolls. Savvy Games Group will make at least one major $1 billion plus games acquisition in 2024. And he says, I think the console market will be up marginally, aided by the launch of a next-gen Nintendo console for more than likely a Switch 2 towards the end of the year. That is 3 different analysts predicting straight up that Nintendo is launching their console this year. Everybody seems to be saying that that's happening, whether we want it to or not. And in terms of mobile gaming, which for some reason some people still don't recognize as a huge area, this analyst says 2024 will see Microsoft experiment with a mobile app store on Android using King content, dipping their toe in. We know that Microsoft is looking at making their own mobile thing in the coming years. I think they're talking about going toe-to-toe with Google and Apple, and that could come to light in a big way. Let me see if I had any other here. Oh, here is another Nintendo. They all agree that a Nintendo Switch 2 is this year. Nintendo Switch 2 will take center stage, and Nintendo Switch 2 will launch in 2024 with a highly anticipated 3D Mario game. Having embraced the digital storefront, Nintendo will allow users to transfer between Nintendo accounts to Switch 2, no more building your games library from scratch. Time will tell, though, if they're getting in on the subscription service bandwagon, for lack of a better term. So that was the Games Industry article. I've set the Michael Pachter interview to premiere, but real quick, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, hit that like button if you already are subscribed. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you so much to the members for supporting. If you want to support this channel and become a member, you can click that join button. It is right down there. And you support the channel by just, being a member. I also upload all the news videos with no ads on them. Here is the Michael Pachter interview where it will premiere. So if you're here early, just bookmark it. I don't know. And if you're here after it's live, go check it out. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody. My brain's slow today.